Hello, everyone, and welcome to another story time with When Girls Talk Books. I'm Kylie.
I'm Susie.
And today we're going to talk about a book that should never been written.
Yes.
Because it
should be sponsored
by
Kleenex because it's the saddest. Oh my God.
Which I kind of knew going into it, at least.
I thought everyone was over-exaggerating.
Okay, that's also true.
Just gonna be 100%. I will call myself.
I caught it.
I really thought it was I'm just not that emotional of a person.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I don't have emotions.
Heartless.
Yeah, depends on who you ask.
True.
But I cried so, I needed 25 minutes to gather myself when I finished this book.
Yeah, we both cried at the end. I finished it before Susie and had to take a break. I literally had to set it down because I was it's literally when I pick this up, I better not have just fucking read what I read.
Yes.
I'm going to be so mad.
This simply could not be.
Yeah.
Rub your eyes. Try again. Damn it.
Yeah. So the book that we read is The Things We Leave Unfinished by Rebecca Yarros.
Yes.
Who is the Fourth Wing author.
No.
Yeah. She wrote The Fourth Wing, Iron Flame, and I will be busy when the third one comes out, so my phone will be on Do Not Disturb. I will be out of office all day, just an FYI.
Do not bother you.
Do not, because I got to read
Unless there's
that
a bone
day of,
sticking
or
out.
else there's going to be spoilers, and I can't handle that, because I'll be pissed. Anyway.
Heard.
So I think fantasy is her newest thing, but she has multiple books that are kind of centered around military type.
I think I would definitely read another one of her
relationships. Yeah. What was your star rating?
4 out of 5.
4 out of 5.
Yeah.
5? It made you cry and you gave it a 4 out of 5?
That made me like it more. If it gets me emotionally worked up or upset, that's a good author. Sorry. That's fine. Yeah. If it wants to devastate me, I'll give you 5 stars. Give me something even sadder than this. I double dog dare you. I don't think there is anything sadder, but
it's not 5 stars?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Anyway, it's okay. It's your rating. I think
Apparently it's not.
You're having some conflicting opinions here.
Yes.
It was devastating. Give me more devastating than I'll give it 5 stars. But I don't think it can get worse. What do you mean?
I have a walking contradiction.
That's fine. This was 5 stars for me.
Okay.
Because I loved it.
You loved it, but it's so sad. Why did you love it? Why did you give it 5 stars if it made you cry?
I don't think that had the same effect you think.
Okay. Damn it.
You could still love something and it'd be sad. There was another book I read after this that I also gave 5 stars. I had a good reading month. I gave 2 books 5 stars.
You had a lot of reading months.
Yeah. I did an October TBR and I stuck to it for the first time in my entire life.
Round of applause.
And I read 7 books in October, so I was very accomplished.
Sheesh.
Can't remember what they are for right now, but I did read.
But you did it.
Oh, I read The Housemaid. Frida McFadden.
I think Camille's reading that.
She did. We were messaging each other about it. She just finished the second one. I finished this first one. Everybody, stop what you're doing. If you want a thriller, just really quick, I'm just going to put this in here. That book was so good. It was so good. 5 stars. I read the whole thing in a day. It was so...
Yeah, she reads a lot of books in a day, though. So,
she's a well-deserved hype. Okay. That one was so good.
I'll have to give that book a try.
I'm so sorry. Anyway, so that was my other 5 star of the month. Okay, let's get into it because there's a lot. There's a lot that goes on in this book. It is... A
lot happens here.
Centered around World War II and then also modern day. And it's a family lineage story. So, we start with Georgia, who is a Hollywood kind of Scarlet in a way. Her grandmother's name is Scarlet. Yep. Great grandmother. But she is from Hollywood. Her husband was a producer, a big hotshot. And we start out with her getting divorced, and she has to go back to her hometown to change her name. That'd be so crappy. And then the people in the office she knows.
Yeah, of course. Yep.
That's a whole thing. But so she's changing her name back to Georgia Stanton. And her great-grandmother is a author of romance and is like very praised in the romance industry.
Big deal.
She's a big deal. She has her own bookstore in the hometown, but she has since passed away, and so now Georgia owns the bookstore. And when she goes to the bookstore, she runs into this guy who's on the phone, and he's very mad about the printed edition of these books, and he's like, excuse me, do both of these look the same? And she's like, yep, those look the same. And he's like, I chose and he's like on the phone, and he's so mad. And they have like a argument kind of per se, or more of like
a tit for tat.
Yeah, in the bookstore of, well, all these guys' books are the same, you know, this happens, and then the story ends up sad. And she really kind of like tears into him, and he's like, oh, really? And she's like, yeah. And he's like, I suppose not like these books, but she's holding her great-grandma Scarlet's books. And she's like, no, she's the best romance author that ever existed, da-da-da-da-da. And so they have like this tit for tat, and then like, but also there's an immediate attraction between them.
The spark is there. Like,
yes.
You could feel it in a book.
Yes.
We weren't even actually there.
And then she ends up leaving. So she goes, and we get to her great-grandma's house, and her mom is there. Her mom is Ava, who's just a real fucking piece of work.
I couldn't decide who I hated more in this book, her mother or her ex-husband.
I think her mom's worse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
She does a lot of really bad things.
She's like Frank Gallagher, but like female form.
Oh my gosh, that's such a great, but like she pretends to not be.
Yeah, which kind of, I guess that, what was the mom's name in Shameless? Monica. Yeah, so she's kind of like Monica and Frank.
Yeah. But so she gets home, and her mom's like, oh, honey. Gigi.
If my name was Georgia, I would hate that nickname too.
She's like, what are you doing here? Oh, these guys that are in her room. Oh, they're just here. And then she's like, she goes and introduces herself. I'm Georgia Stanton. And they're like, you're Georgia? And she's like, yep. And he's like, oh, so you're not Georgia. And so
her mom sweating.
Ava was pretending to be Georgia.
We're twin sisters.
Yeah. Can you tell if we're sisters or mother and daughter? Like, that's her vibe. She was pretending to be Georgia because Georgia has rights to all of her great-grandma's literary kind of...
moneymakers.
Kinda, but it's like, they had a word for it. Like, she controls everything, where it goes, who it gets sold to, the rights, if they're doing movie rights, things like that. She has control of the whole thing. Literary trust, I think, is what she says.
Yep, and some other, that sounds correct.
And so Ava was trying to sell the book that was unfinished from...
Oh, yeah, the manuscripts.
The letters from Great-Grandma Scarlet, and she never ended up finishing it. So it was like her one book unfinished. And it is based off real life of her Grandpa Jameson and their story. And Georgia is pissed. She is so mad. And then
betrayal.
Ava inevitably ends up kind of like talking her into just hearing him out about it. And because she wasn't left anything by her grandma.
She guilts and manipulates Georgia into it. And I just hate that so much.
Yeah.
But also I understand because it happens.
Yeah. And this is the only book that she would have like any sort of monetary
value.
Come on, brain. Yeah.
Words.
Not monetary
Here, let me
value.
share the brain cell.
Like she get monetary proceeds from.
Correct.
Like the rest, a lot of the literary trust, it goes to like charities and things like that.
And George's husband has some of the other ones already too, so they couldn't really do anything with them.
He has movie rights. So he got 6 movie rights in the production company, and he's made 3, and so he has 3 more movie rights. It just makes me so mad. Yeah. But because this book is unfinished and it's not in the literary trust, then she can kind of give that the money from the book, and if they make a movie and things like that, to her mom. And so she's like, she didn't leave me
I'm broke after I left my 73rd husband.
She's also been married a lot.
You know, I bought 4 Jaguars. I have to pay for them somehow.
How would I ever?
The Chanel bag, don't worry about it. Like, God.
Oh, my Amazon package
I'm late
on the
for
porch.
my Botox. Like, God. Don't hate on it, but like, don't make other people pay for it. Pay for your damn self.
But so she kind of talks her into sitting down and at least talking with the 2 gentlemen that are there about it. So then, just like the preface, this book has so much back and forth. So like, in order to tell the story properly, we have to do the back and forth. So we get to 1940, July of 1940 in England. And the first part of all of these kind of before chapters have like a love letter written from Scarlet to Jameson, or Jameson to Scarlet.
Yes, there are.
Which are her great-grandparents. And then the first one, you find out that Scarlet and Jameson are separated, and he is in some sort of military position, and he's away, and she has baby William, and a lot of these are basically just how much they're missing each other. And
Scarlet, oh Scarlet.
Once you get into...
It's sweet though, okay? But like, yeah.
Once you get into Jameson and Scarlet's love story, I could care less about Georgia and Noah. I do not care. I don't care.
Why did it take like this? So the book is like, you know, this thick. Why did it take half of the book for Noah and Georgia to get interesting?
Anything.
And then not that great. And then like what felt like the last 4 pages. Gone.
See, I still didn't feel like that. Like throughout the whole book.
You were over it the whole time.
Great, got it. Like, congrats, that's great. Love that for you. Happy, healed life. I don't fucking care. Yeah.
Okay.
I did not care about Noah.
That's all right.
And Georgia.
I came around.
Even in the slightest.
Okay. Oh, wow.
I think Noah was pretty nice. Like, he ended up being like a nice guy, and whatever. The things he did were nice. But other than that, I don't care about their love story. Which, a little bit jumping ahead here. At some point in the story, since we're on the topic of me hating this.
Yeah.
Since we're on the topic of it, at some point, Noah like says something to Georgia of like, the love story isn't about Scarlett and Jameson, it's you and I in this room.
The audacity. That was but you know, it does say from the beginning of the book, he is so egotistical. Like, Noah's sister has to check him all the time. Like,
that made me want to like throw something at his head. Like, I felt like that was so disrespectful to this entire book. Like, that pulled me out of it so quickly. Like, I was so, like, from that point, I was like, I don't like you. Get out of here. Bye. Bye.
You're dead to me.
Sorry. So, back to 1940 in July in England.
Oh, yeah. And I'm a little, like, how many notes did I put in there of that? Oh, yeah, for chapter 3. Yeah.
Yes,
got it.
Right here, page 40. So we start with Scarlet and Constance. They are sisters. Scarlet is the great-grandmother of Georgia, are in the Women's Auxiliary Air Force for the British military, and they are coming back from a trip to see their parents, and their parents have...
They come from a wealthy family, like an old money, old school family.
Yeah, but they're kind of out of money. But they still have the name.
Running out, yep.
They still have the name, so they have a little bit of a pull. So that's how Scarlet and Constance are getting stationed together, how they are able to kind of take leave to go see their parents. They have a certain amount of privilege with the name. But, so they're coming back, and they are waiting for a train or a car or something like that to get them to base, essentially. And...
Oh, yeah, their unreliable friend was the one that was supposed to pick them up.
Pick them up in the car that the military has so many
Be like, oh, I swear, I'll come get you. And then you're like...
And they're like...
She didn't come get me.
We should have known better.
Yeah, that part was funny.
So good old Jameson pulls up. I love her so much.
Me too. It's okay. I really did too.
As cheesy as he is.
Don't even care. Wholesome.
Yeah. But so he pulls up and he's like, oh, well, I'm going to the same place. Can I give you guys a ride? And Scarlet is like, nope. And Constance is like,
come on,
Scarlet. Come on, let him give us a ride. And she's like, it's hot out here. It's like a 3-mile walk. If we wanted to walk, like, we're going to be dead by the time we get there. Like, let him give us a ride.
He's not like, gonna unalive us, okay? We're
well,
okay.
Right. She said, well, all right.
I suppose.
And so they get into the car, and we find out that Scarlet has found out while she's home that she is to be wed to...
She is betrothed.
Yes. To Henry Wadsworth, who is kind of just a...
I imagine he looks like
gross
a thumb.
Human being. Yeah. And it's very apparent that he is abusive to staff or whoever. He's just not a good man. And she's like, I'm not marrying him. I don't care what they say. I'm not marrying
a monster.
I'm not doing it. And Constance has been engaged forever. She, like, childhood friend.
Or Edgar?
Yeah.
Edward. Sorry.
They have just been together forever, like childhood sweethearts, very much in love. So she's not going to marry him because she's already got something going on. So Scarlet is to be wed. And he will carry on the name, essentially, for her parents. All about duty and honor. And
be like, wow, you think you're the queen, huh? Like,
yeah. Well, it's
not
her parents'
daughters,
expectation.
But the parents, yeah. The parents like, wow, you guys think you're like of the royal family.
Yeah, and they need to produce a son, so
they need an heir.
Carry on the name, and yeah, it's a whole thing.
It's disgusting.
She's very much, I'm not marrying him, and Constance is like, okay, you sure about that? Like,
are you sure about that?
Yeah, because she doesn't want to. She knows her sister is very strong-willed and is very feisty, and that's kind of been brought up throughout the book, but at the same time her parents are kind of telling her, you have to do this, like, hey, it's gonna happen. But she is just infatuated with Jameson immediately, even though she doesn't want to ride from him. He is a very good looking man, and he is a Yankee, which means American. So that's kind of like intriguing to her. And he is an American flying for the British Army.
He's a pilot.
A pilot. And when he takes them back to their barracks, I don't know if that's what they're called in the British Army, but he asks Scarlet out on a date. And she's like, no. And he's like, come on.
Like, he was persistent.
He was very persistent. And so she finally does give in. And they have this date, and it's the best date ever. And he flies her off of base, wherever. And there's like this field, and there's a table so they can have dinner, or it's like a picnic. And then there is the music. What is that actually called?
Record player?
Yeah, but it's with the something, a phone. Phonograph? Yeah, the phonograph.
Thank you. I was just in there like,
well, that's an important part of the story.
Okay.
So there's the phonograph there, and they have a dance, and then they have to get back, and so he doesn't kiss her because they have to get back, and then, but he does let her fly the plane. Which was like, and he's like, do you trust me? And she's like, I guess.
Yeah. I would have promptly been like, no, I don't. Like, I don't know you, but here I are.
But like, the amount of effort that went into this date is very like, sweet. Astonishing to her.
Doesn't happen anymore.
They're in the middle of war times, and he's like set up this whole date.
If he wanted to, he would, ladies. If he wanted to, he would.
All his friends helped him. Like, set this all up and, like, take stuff out, and then they're going to come and get it later. Like, there was a ton of effort put into this date because he is very infatuated with her as well immediately because she has striking blue eyes.
The Stanton
blue.
I thought that was so fucking cheesy when I was reading this. I'm sorry, the whole time I'm just like, Jesus Christ, it's literally just blue, but all right. Like,
no.
Stanton blue. I want Sherman Williams to make a shade.
Fair. Yeah, that'd be hilarious. Present day. She is sitting down talking to the people, and Ava gets to the door and she's like, oh, so happy to see you. And
that's smart.
in walks in Noah from the book.
Noah Harrison.
And he is an author, and he's a very famous author, really, but she obviously doesn't know that that's him. But his real name is Noah Moraletti, I think. His last name is not actually Harrison. That's his pen name.
Oh, which always confuses me. Just like, I'm not even like, oh, why would you do that? Just I'm like, wow, I never would have thought of that. But then I'm like, well, lots of other celebrities do it, but.
I think it may be, and this is just my thoughts, and this could totally be wrong, but like back in the day, like women weren't really allowed to be writers and things like that. So I think a lot of times that's how pen names came to be. Because
that makes sense.
I think at one point it was illegal. So
of course, anything that would bring us joy or that we're good at. Yeah. No, you can't do that.
Not allowed. But so Noah is going to be the one to kind of finish the book for the story. He thinks this is a done deal. He has cleared
he's like,
his
oh, cool, I'm just showing up for my first day to start going over this. Like, everybody wants me to do it.
The letters is kind of what he thinks. And that is not the case.
Surprise.
At all. And his editor is also his friend. And he's like, so we were lied to, essentially, and Georgia isn't really going for it. You need to convince her. You need to convince her how to do this. And he ends up telling her that when his mom got into an accident, he would read all of Scarlett's books to her while she was in the hospital.
Which is very sweet.
And it means a lot to him, and how great of an author her great-grandmother was. And it's really important that he does this properly. And it's a whole thing. And she's like, okay. Not so much, but she's like, fine.
I wish you could have heard the guy that the audio book people.
The narrator.
The narrator's accent for her is really funny because he does a really good job of very smooth, but it almost sounds like everything she says is like, okay. And you're like, what?
But so she ends up saying yes, and they sign the contract, but she says, you're not taking the manuscript and letters anywhere. They stay in this house. They do not leave here, but I'll email you copies of everything that you need. So back in time.
Back to the 40s.
Back to the 40s. The Battle of Britain has begun, and they are driving, and Jameson finds out that Scarlet is engaged. And at this point, he really likes her. I was not okay. I was like,
I was stressing.
I think it was so hard because I know that they get together. Obviously, these love letters are years in the future and things like that. So I knew everything was going to be fine.
But still.
But I was like, oh my gosh. And he gets out of the car and he's on the airfield essentially. And he's like, what, am I just a joke to you? He feels so betrayed, essentially.
Now remember, everyone, I'm on Jameson's side, but I always think it's funny that when a guy gets upset like that, they don't let you explain.
Yeah.
But when they're the ones that are mad at, well, just let me explain. Just hang on. I'm like,
interesting.
Isn't that interesting?
Well, Jameson is a good guy. He's a good man,
This
Savannah.
was his one flaw. Leave it to Susie to find it.
Even he kind of has a moment of he just needed to feel that. He 100%. Apologizes later for his behavior, but he just needed to kind of deal with it. Yeah. It was such a shock to him. At
Do
this
you
point,
love him?
He's kind of, at this point, he's kind of in love with Scarlet. They are very much two moths to a flame, for sure.
That hair was stuck on my eyelash. I'm sorry. That was just the whole time I've been pay attention.
And then, the airfield ends up getting bombed, and so he jumps on top of Scarlet and please don't let her die.
I was so stressed. I'm I know they can't die already.
Yeah. So he's terrified that something's gonna happen to Scarlet. So it went from he was so mad at her to the protection thing, and it seems every time something like this happens, they have this emotional epiphany afterwards. So the bombing happens, and then, hey, back to the present day, because
Oh, yeah. Here, you're emotionally upset and anything could happen? Noah being boring and full of himself. Like, okay, cool. Or Damien's back to be a douche. Okay, yay, can't wait.
I think that's why I had such a hard time with the Georgia Noah storyline. I don't care. Like, we were just getting bombed on the airfield.
Issues and that, you know, somebody else is rich. Like, I don't care.
I think this might be a hot take. I think this book would have been better if Noah and Georgia weren't in it. Like,
100%.
if
This would have given me, you want that 5? That's how you get it.
If this was just the storyline in the 1940s, it would have been so good. Mm-hmm. It would have been so good. You could have added a lot to it. But I kind of get it.
We understand its purpose, but we wish that, instead of it getting half the book, it could have gotten a third.
Yeah. So then we're back in present day, and Noah wants to write the ending to be a happy ending, because all of Scarlett Stanton's books have happy endings. That's kind of like her...
What she's known for.
What she's known for, and that's what her readers expect. And he's like, if we don't have that, it's going to ruin my career. Like, I'm going to forever be known as the guy who ruined Scarlett Stanton's legacy, essentially. And Georgia is very much, no, you give them the ending like it happened. It wasn't a happy ending, so, hey.
Heads up.
Not a happy ending.
I mean, it's not like they all thought that we cried a whole bunch. Because
I didn't. I didn't cry at all. I'm the ice queen like Georgia. But so they have this really big disagreement on how the book is supposed to end. Georgia wants it to be how it ended in real life, and that is with Scarlet forever waiting for Jameson to come home, and he doesn't. And Noah thinks it needs to be a happy ending because that's Scarlett Stanton's legacy,
That's what we all deserve. Sorry.
And he talks a lot about that. Like, don't you want to give Scarlett that ending that she deserved?
None of it's not real. Yep, I get it.
So then back to the bombs.
Yep.
And they're fine. She's fine. She is really scuffed up on her knees. And Jameson is like, are you okay? And she's like, yes. And he's like, you have to go.
Are you hurt? As the narrator. Sorry.
Prepare for horrible British accents in this one.
Oh my God, yeah.
That was so spot on, though. So then he's like, you need to go. And so she's like, okay. And so she gets back in the car with Constance and their other friend, and they go to work, essentially.
Oh, yeah, I forgot. They had, like, really stressful jobs, too.
Well, it was, like, a big deal. Like, their jobs were a big deal. And she talks about, like, outranking certain people of the military because of what she does, and it's very secretive and things like that.
Oh yeah, and they couldn't discuss things like
they can't talk about it at all.
I would never make it. I am such a yapper. Like,
yeah,
they'd be like, "This is classified." I'd be like, "Yeah, okay."
Sure.
So Kylie, guess what? Me and Cuss, what did I say?
I literally don't even remember saying that. I think you guys made that up. Are you trying to gaslight me?
I don't like your tone.
Check yourself. But so their jobs is essentially like, I think they call it plotting.
Yeah, like
and it's
they're
essentially
figuring out where the airplanes are going, right?
Yes. So they get, it's like a chart type thing is the way that I pictured it. And they get information received from other people, and then they put it on the map where like the enemy is, and then where their guys are, and so their guys know where to go to like get there. It's very like technical. I don't know.
I'm like imagining numbers and algebra stuff swirling around us while you're talking about it.
I kind of pictured about like old school like telephone monitor things where.
Oh yeah, okay. I know what you're talking about.
That's kind of like what I pictured. I don't think that's accurate at all, but that's what I was picturing. She ends up working like 12 hours straight. She is very fatigued, but she like needs to know that Jameson is okay.
Oh, and so that was the night she was there, and like no one came to replace her, but she's watching other people. Like,
yeah.
Yep, okay.
Yeah. Well, she wouldn't leave. Also, so at some point they're like, you gotta
get out,
go.
Go home.
And she. When she gets off, Jameson is there, and she's like, oh, thank goodness you're okay. And he's like, I've been worried about you. Like, I couldn't get to you. You were working. And they exchange I love yous because traumatic event happens, emotional epiphany. Present day. Georgia, her mom leaves as soon as she gets her advance. So,
and this is a regular thing that Georgia discusses throughout the book, is that her mom, like, emotionally, physically, and financially abandons her every step. Every step of the way. Her great grandmother basically raised her.
She did raise her,
and her
mom dropped her off.
Yeah, her mom comes and goes very infrequently. Usually when a relationship doesn't work out or she needs cash. Her mom was written out of the will, and she, like, blames Georgia for it a little bit. And, like, it's about projection. Her mom needs so much therapy, like, really needs a lot. I hate her mother.
Yeah, her mom is kind of the worst. And she's like, and I think what's so sad is, like, watching Georgia, like, think that it's going to be different. Like, I thought you were staying for Christmas. Like, she kind of thought this was going to be their time to really connect, because she's always looking for that from her. I mean, that's her mom.
Benefit of the doubt.
Yeah. And she's like, well, husband number 4 or whatever and I were, like, going to get together. And she's like, oh, goody, great, whatever. So she leaves. And in the meantime, Georgia and Noah have been arguing a lot about the ending of the book, and Georgia keeps hanging up on Noah. When she gets pissed off, she just hangs up the phone, and he's like, I'm gonna freak out, like, and he's big on deadlines, and he's like, I'm not gonna meet the deadline if we don't figure this out. Like, I have to have an ending to the book.
And I've never not made a deadline.
Yeah, never.
Him and his ego, him and his perfect work career.
I guess I should say, like, as annoying as their storyline is, I think Noah's a pretty good guy.
No, 100%. He is. It's just in the beginning, like, they had to make it so clear that he's a pompous ass, like, until we were so almost written him off, and then it was like, okay, he's a big sweetie pie. Yeah, but, like, for the first, I don't know, 150 pages, I was like, like, not in it. No.
For real. So then Noah decides, well, fine, I'm going to show up at your house. And I also rented the Airbnb that's basically on the property for the rental company. And so he shows up, and she's like, are you fucking kidding me? And her mom had just left, so she's, like, not ready to deal with
Not
him.
emotionally in a great place.
Yeah.
Let's not forget that she's also emotionally wrecked because her divorce is, like, making its way through the tabloids. Her producer husband, like, they were trying to have a child, and he cheated on her with other people and is having a baby with the mistress
or something.
Yeah, so, like, just the cherry on top. I'm just like,
yeah. So because she was infertile, essentially, he was like, well,
moving on.
Moving on to this younger girl, essentially, is what it was.
Special place in hell for you, Mr. Damien.
So then back in the 1940s, Jameson proposes to Scarlet, and she says no.
On their third date. Just kidding. I think it was, too. But.
Day 3 after meeting each other. But she says no, and he's going to be stationed somewhere else. And so they're, like, trying to figure out how this is going to work, and, like, if she can get stationed there, but she doesn't want to leave her sister. That's a big running theme of they don't want to leave each other.
They do everything together.
Yeah. Well, they're very, like, because their parents are so shitty, essentially, like, they're all they got. That's all the family she has, essentially. So after that, they end up getting leave to go visit for their mom's birthday. And it does not go well, because they say...
And not for the reason you think, either. You think, like, oh, it's because their mom's mean. It's like, no.
No, their mom's really nice.
Actually,
she just is spineless.
Yeah, she's weak.
Yeah. And
she has spaghetti for spine.
Yeah. They're, like, sitting at dinner, and her mom says something about, like, oh, we got a lot of plans to make for next summer. And Scarlet has told them she's not marrying this Henry guy, but they don't, like, they literally just don't hear her. And she's like, well, what for? And she's like, the wedding, of course. And she's like, I'm not marrying him. She freaks out.
I'm not marrying that man.
Yeah. And she is like, I am in love, and he is an American pilot, and I love him, but Daddy, I love him.
Yep.
And they don't care what she has to say, and they essentially tell her, if you do not marry him, we are disowning you. And she's like, fine, so be it. And then she asks Constance, how does she feel about putting in for a transfer? That ends. Back to Noah and Jordan. I'm sorry. I've just like to apologize.
Mentally, I have the same energy.
Yeah. And Noah's like, you're never going to trust me. So I think we need to do these trust exercises. And he takes her rock climbing.
Yeah, I leave it to a man that doesn't actually know that much about this woman's situation to be like, I'm going to try to fix you because I'm so great already that if you do this thing that makes me better, it'll definitely make you better. And it's like, hey, fuckface, did you think that maybe I don't want to do that?
I don't think you like Noah. Sorry. But she kind of has like a freak out because she doesn't want to put her life,
as one would,
her life in his hands because, well, he's like an experienced rock climber and he's like, oh, hold on to the rope, like you'll be fine. And she's like, I can't trust you. And
I'm scared going up a ladder to put up curtains. I wouldn't be climbing rocks.
Well, it wasn't about the height of it. It was like,
I mean, yeah, who's scared of heights?
It wasn't about the height. It was like, she's been let down. There was this whole analogy of she's been let down by everybody in her life, and so she can't trust that he's gonna hold the rope
or play the smallest violin
while they rock climb. It was a whole thing. And then
it was like pages and pages, guys, like an entire chapter of will she climb, will she not, will she climb, will she not, people passing by, will I do it, will I not? Oh my god, just fucking get on the rock.
Get on the rock. Susie, I'm not getting on that rock.
But you have to.
Well, he's like, that's okay, you don't have to. And I think this is like once George's mom leaves and he sees that she is not in good shape, he like makes her tea and things like that. And this is where you start to see like the flip side of Noah.
We start coming around.
Yeah. And he was like, that's okay. Like, you don't have to do it. Like, I just thought it'd be fun. Like a trust exercise. Like, it's all right. We can just like hike up here. And she was like, are you sure? And he's like, yeah, not a big deal. Like, okay. And so they end up just hiking the trail. It's a whole thing.
And all that, again, you're going through all of that for nothing, basically, to happen. Meanwhile, in the 40s, we're hanging on by a thread.
Literally.
So that's why we didn't like this.
Because it, like, pulls you out. Like, immediately once something is happening, it pulls you out. And it's like, well, I kind of get it because I probably wouldn't, like, care. Well, I think it made it worse that I didn't care of what was happening, actually. Because I just wanted to be back to what we were dealing with in the 40s. So, anyway, Jameson is moved to the 71st Eagle Squadron, which is a bunch of American pilots, and they're like all sitting around having their beers or whatever, and just a bunch of bros being dudes, and they're like, I heard you got a little lady, and he's like, yep, sure do, and he's like, she got any friends? Nope, she doesn't have any friends. Like, he's kind of like, you know, chatting with him and stuff, but he's
not
really
wanting to
not
give up
interested
too
in
much.
it. Yeah, but he has one buddy, and I don't remember what his name is. I'm so sorry.
Howard?
Yeah.
Okay.
And he's kind of like, they talk about it more of like,
that's his
Jameson's
bro.
very much in love with Scarlet, and like, he doesn't just want to entertain these guys with it because a bunch of bros being dudes. And Howard ends up going, oh, well, she's here. And he's like, what? And he's up out of the room and goes to her, and they have this whole like reunion, and she's like, well, we got stationed here so they could be together, and they end up like going for a walk, and she's essentially like, ask me again, and he's like, are you kidding me right now? Like, don't be pulling my leg about this. And she's like, well, you won't know unless you ask me. And so he does. He asks her to marry him. And she says yes this time. And then he's like, great, let's do it now. And she's like, whoa, 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 whoa.
That's my favorite with her is she like, he'll want something, she'll say no. Then she'll come around to it and he'll be like, great. And then she's like, oh, no.
Well, he's like,
I do that myself sometimes.
He's like, tonight. And she's like, I am not having my wedding night sleeping next to a bunch of these yahoos, and I want my dress. I would like to hang it up to get it prepared. We have to get approval from, you know, chain of command.
He's like, oh, right, rules.
Yeah.
Logic.
He's like, oh, okay. But he does everything.
Jameson is quite the romantic. Like, he really do be. They just don't make him like that anymore.
He's the best. But, of course, we're pulled out before the wedding, and we're back to Georgia and her friend Hazel, and they're having like morning breakfast.
And Hazel was like Team Noah.
Yeah.
Long before we ever were.
I think she was, she's the friend that saw there was something happening between them before they did, that kind of thing. But she has her kids there and they're just running wild. And then Noah and Georgia at this point are starting to get along. They've been like texting and talking and stuff like that. And she tells him the door's unlocked. You can just come in when you get here. And he comes to the door and like the kids like run into him and he comes in the kitchen.
Yeah, and he's like really good with them and stuff.
Yeah, he comes into the kitchen and he's like got them both and it's like this whole like ovary explosion
I wish you could have
for
seen
Georgia.
the face that I did. You're just like, it's so sweet.
Because once you hit an age, that starts getting real cute.
Facts. That age like slammed into me like a freight train. Yep. Let's see, when was Halloween? Just a few days ago. Yeah. I'm like
Susie, that hit you when Sebastian was born. Okay?
100%.
That first meeting with Eric and Sebastian, she said
something happened. 100%. I was like, we need to have children.
Must have children now.
All of a sudden, like, don't care about that. Don't care about that. Don't care about that.
But so she like, it's like, ooh, Noah. And she ends up like giving Hazel like a banana in her purse and is like, okay, you guys have a great day.
Oh yeah, she always forgets to eat.
Yeah. Because she's running around with those kids all day. She forgets to take care of herself, so she takes care of
Which is so sweet.
Yeah.
I couldn't decide if I was going to say nice or sweet, so it came out like so sight.
And so Noah is there so they can kind of have an argument, essentially. But he thinks of it as a business meeting. She's like, you ready to fight? Because they still have not agreed on an ending. And he's like, well, why don't we take a walk? And so they walk around the property, and this property is just insane. It has all the plants you can think of, like beautiful gardens. There's a gazebo there.
Sounds like my paradise.
Yeah. And she ends up going and like to the gazebo, and she's like, this is where Grandma Scarlet wrote all her books, and this is where she sat and she waited for Jameson, and he never came, and that's the story that needs to be told.
Yep. You got it.
And so they don't agree, and then she leaves, and it's like, okay, well, that got us
she storms off. Yep.
And so then after that, Scarlett and Jameson get married, and it's super great.
Marriage.
And it's cute and sweet and great, and he got them like housing off base so they can like have their home life.
Oh yeah, and then like she doesn't tell him that she can't cook.
No,
she like grew up with staff.
Yeah, and so he's like really nervous to show her the house, and she's like, oh, and he's like, in his mind,
you hate
like,
it. It's ugly.
It's horrible. Like I can't provide for you, and like all these things. And
so
she's
Eric
like,
would be like, she hates it.
And she's like, I guess now's probably a good time to tell you I can't cook. And
yeah.
he's like, oh, that's all right.
Fine. No big deal.
I can cook. And
Yep.
she's like, no, like really, I can't cook anything. And he's like, that's okay. Like I can make some eggs and bacon. It'll be all right. And she's like, okay. And then they go upstairs and they get it on. And it's very romantic.
And then I was like, oh, this book is spicy. Like, okay.
And those two, like, cannot get enough of each other. Like, they are very much like twin flame.
In love.
In disgusting love.
Yep.
So that happens. They have their little moment. And then we're back to present day. And Noah, I don't exactly remember how this happens, but Noah and Georgia eventually agree that Noah will write two different versions of the book. One with the story that she wants and one with the story that he wants, and she has final say. I don't remember how they come to that agreement. I think he just says it. Like, what about this? And she's like, well, fine.
And I want to say that another meeting happens with the friend of his, Adam. Maybe that's what his name is.
The editor.
Yeah.
Or his sister is probably what it is.
Yes, something comes about.
talks to his sister a lot about,
she's great,
like,
too. Like, his sister was great.
and she's like, pull your head out of your ass. Like,
Yep.
have some respect. This is her great-grandmother that raised her. Like, hello.
I probably would have, like, fan casted you for her if we're being 100% real.
I think I remember it is Adam, and he says, have you ever Googled Georgia Stanton?
Oh, okay.
Have you ever Googled her and, like, found out her life and, like, she's been kind of told what to do and this and that, and
that's when he's like,
it's like
I'll give her a choice.
Yes, and then he's like, oh, okay, yeah, okay, I can give her the choice to decide on the ending. And
that's
I'll
when he
write both
becomes a
books.
lot more, like, patient with her too, and
Very
less
much
egotistical.
Yes. So then, back in the 1940s, they are in, like, class essentially, and they get mail. And
you've got mail. Sorry, couldn't help myself.
Ding dong. And Constance gets a letter, and
no, not the letter. I have this in all caps. The letter. And all sad.
What's on the letter, Susie?
The love of her life is gone.
Has been perished.
Yep, has perished almost a week ago too.
Yeah.
That's what, like, he had been gone for like a week before she got the note, and this was like,
because her mom told her the letter was from her mom.
Oh yeah, I totally forgot that detail.
That his parents had told her parents, but nobody had told her.
Which is just like, I hate their parents so much.
And she is just hysterical,
and
reasonably so.
Yep, and they were both in the military, so they, like, weren't allowed to have emotions, and so they, like, had to go into a private
had to take
room.
her
out,
or else she was going to be discharged.
Yeah.
Like, it's a big thing.
Kate, is that not just so?
Yeah. People come and go.
Another rant for another time.
Yeah, but she was like, you need to take her out of the class. And the teacher is trying to be
cool.
Trying to be sympathetic, but at the same time, like, this cannot happen. And so she's like, I'll let it go. It can't happen again. And Scarlett's like, it's not going to happen again. She's like, no, it can't happen again, or else she's going to have to go. Because a lot of people die in this industry. You have to be able to deal with it.
And you're like, yeah, right, got it.
Her fiance just died for the love.
Like, clearly you've never been in love with anyone, or you would have, like, understood this.
Yeah. And then she ends up finding out from somebody that Jameson's squad is going to be restationed, and he hasn't told her. And so he gets home, and she's like, anything to say?
He's in trouble.
Yeah. And she's been also taking care of Constance for, like, the past week or whatever, because she's just a mess.
She's at her emotional wit's end here.
Yes. And he's like, hello, nice to see you. Like,
hey, honey, love you.
Give me a kiss. Like, and she's not having it. Like, I heard today that you're going to be restationed. Is that true or is that not true? And he's like, it is true. But then also, but she finds out that they had requested to go.
Oh, yeah.
Overseas somewhere. So he would not
Pearl
see her at
Harbor
all.
happened is when he requested to go, because he wanted to go assist with that stuff. And then he got denied to go to the Pacific something, and that's when she was upset.
I'm jumping forward. My bad.
That's okay.
Anyway, he's getting stationed somewhere else, and she's like, I don't know if I'll be able to leave Constance, because she is distraught, and
rightfully so.
Rightfully so. And I don't know if I can ask her to transfer again, but I'm not going to leave her by herself. So it's this whole thing. And then present day, Noah and Georgia go to a rock climbing gym. Like, these are just two
I just
extremes.
I quite literally don't care. I just don't.
Can we get I don't care count on this episode? But so they go to the rock climbing gym. There's this whole moment of Noah holding the rope while
It's
Georgia goes up
so
the thing.
Emotionally deep.
I've never read something so deep, actually. Yeah. And she makes it to the top, and she feels so accomplished, and then she has to propel back down, and he holds on to the rope, and she makes it to safety.
And I was picturing this being like a 25-foot like training wall just to top it all off. Like.
Anyway, so that's a bonding moment with them. And then he's like, do you want to hold the rope while I go up? And she's like, you would trust me with that? And he's like, yeah. And she's like, wow. What is like, I don't know. Yeah,
it's like, dear diary, we trust each other. Like, oh my God.
So then back to the 1940s. Constance comes over one day and tells Scarlet, who has no contact with her parents at this point, that she is to be married to Henry.
She is volunteering as tribute.
Yes.
Now that the love of her life is gone, she wants to get the land that he was on.
Yeah.
And, like, she wants to hold on to the memories of him and take care of their parents.
That was really sad.
Yeah, that part was sad.
Like, the reasoning, because Scarlet's pissed. Like, you can't do this. Like, you've seen what he does to women. Like, you cannot do this to yourself. And he, kind of spoiler alert here, he does beat Constance. Like, he's abusive towards her.
Yep.
And she's like, you don't get it. Like, again, this is about duty and honor and the land where Edward had all his memories, or like the lake where they fell in love and would like go swimming, and that land is about to be sold off. So if she doesn't do it, which I think is interesting because he doesn't have money.
His parents do, though.
Yeah. I don't know. Anyway, they're buying their way into this title.
Correct.
In a way.
We wouldn't get it because we don't like come from family, like land, money. That just, I don't get it.
What? But so Scarlet
what do you mean?
very hysterical about this. Jameson ends up coming home. She's like crying. Constance is like leaving for the day, and Scarlet ends up vomiting in the bushes. And Jameson's like, Scarlet, like, it's okay. Like, we'll figure it out. And she's like, no, you don't understand. And then Scarlet's pregnant. Which they weren't really planning on getting pregnant while the war was still going on. Also, we're not preventing it. So, hey, when A and B happens, like, C comes about.
Like, did they even really have, like, birth control back then? Like,
I don't think birth control
was even, like, really a thing. I don't know.
Because they have a moment of, like, when he's showing her the house, and he's like, this is where a baby would go, potentially. And she's like, do you want that? And he's like, do you want that? And she's like, yeah, but not right now. And he's like, well, you have to understand that that could happen. And it does. So they're clearly not.
I guess that was her sex education class.
Yeah.
Okay.
So then back to present day.
Yeah. Everything got interesting. Let's go see what Noah's doing now. Okay.
So Noah and Georgia have this moment where he shows up at the house and she has these pictures everywhere, and he's like, oh, what are you looking at? And she's like, oh, well, I was trying to find pictures for you and I just kind of got lost in it. So he brings her lunch and they sit down, and she's like showing him this scrapbook essentially of like her childhood and kind of to her wedding day and beyond. And he can see the smile fading from her face more and more so like after she got married. And she kind of talks about love and how it can be suffocating, and you don't know that it's dead until you're dead, and it takes everything from you, and it's all very
deep, dark gloom, sadness. This guy ruined her life.
Yeah.
Depression, toxic relationships. Yeah.
But then he says, you don't deserve to be treated that way by him. And she says, by who? And so this ends up coming to be about, she's talking about her mom and how she loves her mom, but like slowly it's killing her inside because her mom treats her horribly. Like she's disposable, kind of, sort of. And then they end up saying, you know, he's looking at the desk and she's like, well, why don't you just write in here? I mean, you're right across the door, so why don't you just write in the office? And then they almost kiss, but they don't.
Because of course not.
Something, the door rings or something. Mm-hmm. She gets a package from her grandma, I think. And it had the witch's hat.
Yeah.
So Scarlett's been sending her packages.
Which is just like...
And this one's for Halloween. And it's a witch's hat and like a bunch of full-size candy bars.
For the kids.
Which
is cool.
So sweet. So then back to 1940s. Scarlet cannot work if she's pregnant. So she's been really trying to hide it, but she's like 6 months pregnant. And her clothes are no longer
finally
fitting her.
Goes to tell the commanding officer, and she's like, bitch. I know.
She said, I was going to give you one more week
That'd be
before
like
I
me
said something.
finally coming to tell you, like, so I'm pregnant. You're like, I know you haven't had a White Claw for 4 visits. I know something's up.
And this is really, really hard for Scarlett. This is where I started to get emotional in this book.
Okay.
The moment of Scarlett coming home, because she's very proud of what she does, and it gives her purpose and things like that, and she does really well. When she's taking off her uniform, and Jameson is there, and he's standing in the doorway.
That was emotional.
And he's like,
listen.
I have to let her do this. Like, I can't go and help her. She has to do this for herself. And it was like...
Did you feel like, because like you're a mom and I'm not, so this will help. Did you think that it was a good representation of like sacrifices that mothers have to make? Like when it's something that you want, but it's still going to impact the shit out of your life and like the things you want to do.
Yeah, I think it's more of like an identity thing.
Okay.
So like you're a mom, but you're more than just a mom.
That makes sense.
But like society wise, it kind of takes over. So like, oh, can you go to dinner? Oh, well, I don't know.
Well, I mean,
I got so-and-so.
Can he come?
Yeah, like it's just different. And I think more specifically back then, it was probably even worse because women are expected to do everything.
They like couldn't even have bank accounts and stuff for it. So like
she had to quit her job. Like I didn't have to quit my job when I got pregnant.
That's
like
true.
it kind of stripped her of everything that at that time she felt was important to her, which nowadays I think it's a little bit different. Like I still work, you know, I'm do this, you know,
True.
but I also have a lot of support, Justin, and like things that she just doesn't have. You know, Jameson is gone
100%.
all the time for his job. She doesn't have that support. Her parents aren't there. So,
and her parents suck. Sorry, everyone.
Yeah.
But yes, okay.
But I get what you're saying, but I just think I don't want to come off insensitive.
Like, oh, poor victim mode. I had it just as bad.
Yeah, because I'm like,
but in that little minute of like, oh, this is what I wanted, but now I'm going to become someone else. Like the old me is going away.
But like I can't, like, I'll never be able to explain this to you unless you experience it. The mind change that happens once you have a kid is insane. Okay. I could not care about anything else. I do not care. At the end of the day, I'm coming home to Bash, and that is my priority. Aww. Everything else, I don't care.
I don't give a fuck.
And it felt like for me specifically, which I've always wanted to be a mom. It's not for everybody.
Spoiler alert.
This was something that was very important to me and like was talked about within like a month of Justin and I dating. Do you want kids? Yes or no? Do not waste my time. And like once I had Sebastian, it was like, oh, this is what life is.
Aww,
like this is so what
sweet.
I'm here for. So anyway. So
okay,
sorry. But like I'll never be able to explain that feeling
until
you'll get it.
I get it, bitch. I get it.
Yeah. So anyway, after Scarlett does that, Jameson like comforts her and she's like, it's okay, like this is what we wanted and I want this and I need you to know that I want this. As hard as it is, I'm excited for this baby
and he thinks it's a girl and she thinks it's a boy. Like the whole time. I love them like arguing over it during the pregnancy, which was funny.
So then on one of his days off, they end up going into town to get baby things. And everything's very rationed. So they can only get a few things, but they want to make it like a whole experience. So they go to whatever town.
Whatever Babies R Us was back then.
Yeah, I don't know. And they get a few things, and as they're walking back to the car, they run into Scarlett's parents.
Hey!
Scarlett's dad, the entitlement.
Pompous ass.
It's like he's like, that baby is mine, like type of vibe. And it's like,
he's the grandparent that comes up and goes, how's my baby? And you're like,
well,
ew.
Because he wants that boy to carry on the name.
His heir.
Yeah, his heir. And she's like,
I thought you disowned your daughter, so technically she's not your daughter, so technically that's not even your grandson.
Yeah.
This man would hate me.
He keeps saying, like, right, the right, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, it's going to be a Stanton. Stanton's his last name, or because she thinks it's a boy. And then at some point, Jameson kind of steps in. But so at some point, Jameson has to kind of step in because the dad's crossed the line. And he's like, this is my kid.
Look, bitch.
Yeah, this is my kid, and you will respect that, and you will not be around him.
Which just made me fall in love with him even more. I was like, standing up for her, like...
So Jameson brings Scarlet a gift, and it is the typewriter.
Yes!
Which is the typewriter that Scarlett Stanton wrote all her stories on. And she's very excited about it because she writes all these stories and she tells all these stories. And so he thought it would be nice for her, since she's going to be home now, to have something to give her purpose.
Yes, very thoughtful.
Yes, a very, very thoughtful gift. So then Halloween comes around, present day. Halloween, Noah hangs out, gives
He's supposed
out
to
candy.
like be there through Christmas or something, right? Like,
yeah, by the end of the new year, the book is supposed to be finished. And spoiler alert, he ends up asking for an extension so he can spend more time with Georgia.
But she doesn't know about the extension.
But she doesn't know that. So Halloween comes. It is what it is. And then they have their whole moments of togetherness. And what's the ex-husband's name?
They have their whole moments.
Yeah,
Damien.
Damien ends up calling to ask for the movie rights to this newest book.
Correct.
And Noah essentially tells them to tell him to fuck off, because he's not giving it to him, and he's not going to see the manuscript, and he's not going to see anything, and he's offering a lot of money to be able to see that. So he thinks he's going to get the movie rights to this newest book, but he doesn't realize that the agreement was only if Georgia was in the production company, which she is no longer.
Ha 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 ha.
Yeah, but with him like standing up to her ex-husband, she's like, I can't depend on him, and blah blah blah. They kiss. They
try to
get
care.
jiggy with it.
We try to care some more.
It's a whole thing. A snowstorm happens.
Surprise,
forward.
surprise. Should we just wait this out together? I remember one of the parts was like that, and you're just like, I don't care.
Scarlet is pregnant. So then Scarlet is very pregnant, and Jameson is going to be gone on his flight
Some
day.
extra dangerous mission.
Yes, because of course. And Constance comes over to kind of help her out, and
surprise, surprise,
surprise.
she goes into labor.
Goes into labor, and Constance like runs down the street to try and get hold of whoever to tell them that Scarlet is having the baby, but Jameson was already in the...
Of course, it's already too late. He's like halfway across the narrow sea. They had to send carrier pigeons back then still for communication.
But they couldn't get a hold of him, so Scarlet ends up having the baby without him there.
Because she's a badass.
Which I hated that. Which, also, he wanted to be there while she had the baby, which is kind of taboo, because men aren't typically, at the time, in the delivery room. That was like a woman's place.
Like, they sat in the, whatever, waiting
Chit-chatted
room and
had
smoked
cigars
cigars.
and whiskey. Yeah. But he wanted to be there, but unfortunately he didn't make it.
And he was very nervous that he would have to be away at work when this happened. And then it happened.
Yes.
He was very sweet.
But he was very proud of Scarlet when he did get there and was like,
you did the damn thing.
good job. But it's a whole sweet moment, and like everything's so precious, and it is a boy, and they name him William. Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's correct.
They name him William. And then Pearl Harbor happens. Like, fresh. She had, that same day, Howard comes to the house, and he says they hit
So what, December
Pearl Harbor.
7th? I'm pretty sure. Something like that.
Yes.
Get on with you, bad self.
I'm like, I only remembered it because that's also that's my grandma's birthday. That's how I remember. I know. Her name is not Scarlet.
I am actually the worst when it comes to history stuff, so I'm just putting that out there. Anything
Please
I say
forgive us.
about history could be 100% wrong. Just an FYI. But I did a little research on this because I had to comprehend what I was
We're like,
reading.
sorry, our teachers. It's not your fault.
Yeah.
You did a great job.
So he's like, the moment is ruined because of this, which pissed me off. But so then, back to present day, Noah and Georgia. Noah is like in love with Georgia already. I didn't connect. Don't care. Why? Okay, it's been like a month. All of a sudden, you're in love with her. You've never even met this woman in your life.
First of all, you can't take her roasting you once, and then you're in love with her. Maybe that's just a me thing. Like, if you're gonna put up with me loving you, you're gonna have to handle some roasts. And like, you can roast me back.
Hey,
like I can take it.
I'm flirting.
I may cry a little. Yeah, so true. You and me are like, fucking dumbass.
How do you think I got Justin? Okay, we were in 7th grade drama class, and we were not 7th grade, freshman year drama class, and we partnered up together, and we had to like walk around,
love story,
and do lines, roasting each other. So, gets the man if they have a good sense of humor.
True.
Anyway, so they have a moment of like, what is this? What are we doing? And she's like, I think we should just call it what it is.
What are we?
And he's like, what's that? And she says, we're just a fling, a book till the book is finished.
This was kind of funny to me, how he's all like waiting for her to tell him how in love she is. And she's like, yeah, so we're just like banging until you're gone. And he's like,
and he decides he needs more time with Georgia. So this is where the extension comes into play. Which he's never missed a deadline, Susie. But he's like, gonna miss a deadline. Book is finished, by the way.
That's where I'm not understanding. I get it, it's part for the book, but like, why didn't he just go up to her and be like, you don't have to feel the same way as me, but I think there's something here. I want to spend more time here.
Because he doesn't want to scare her away.
But he'll send her up a rock face? Like, so he'll force exposure therapy, but sorry, it's not for me to understand. It's a book. Anyway.
It's not real life for me. So he ends up like contacting the editor and is like, I need more time. Can you do this for me?
And his friend is like, Jesus fucking Christ, bro.
Yeah, sure, great. So then we come to the part where the Eagle crew is denied, request was denied.
You shall not pass.
To Pearl Harbor. And she is so mad. Granted,
this
she
is
just
the
had a
part
baby.
we thought we were talking about a few minutes ago.
She just had a baby. Mm-hmm. So those hormones.
Postpartum.
And she's like, are you joking me? You put in a request to go across the world for at least a year. We just had a baby. This is no longer about you and me. This is about him too. And you need to take that. She just reamed his ass. And I was like, dang straight. And he apologizes profusely, as he should.
As he should.
But he's also like, my country was hit now. What do you expect me to do? To just sit here?
This part was so sad when I don't have a country. And she's like, I don't have one and you don't understand how that feels. And I'm like, yeah, bro, she had to sacrifice a lot for you.
She sacrificed everything.
And it always seems like that's just like expected.
Yeah.
Or like not even expected. No one can understand that would be emotionally hard on a woman.
Oh, yeah.
All the time.
Like everything that she's ever known is gone. He technically can't go back to the U.S. because he would be arrested. Because at the time that he...
Treason.
This is where my research came into play. At the time that he went into the war, the U.S. was not a part of the war yet, and so he would be considered...
He jumped the gun.
Treason for attending or for joining the Eagle Squadron. Because the U.S. was not involved in it.
The U.S. was like, wasn't our idea yet. You can't just go help people until we decide we're going to go into a country and help them.
So then, if he were to go back to the U.S., he would be arrested. So they're not even sure if she can get citizenship because of that. Like
stressful.
Because then also they start talking about Scarlet going to the U.S. to get out of the war zones because they have a baby.
His family, right?
Yeah. And his family's the best, and they, like, sent her a package when the baby was born.
I pictured, like, Justin's family.
Or, like,
I'm like, oh, they're sweet. Like,
a maid blanket is what they sent.
Aww.
Scarlett's family also sent something.
Yeah.
And at the end of this
fight... It was a silver rattle with other initials on it. Like, not even the child's actual initials because they're just...
Because he's a
stuck-up douchebags.
Yeah. But he was, at the end of this argument, he asked if he can throw that away. And she's like, yes, throw it away. Like, I don't keep secrets from you. That's
the
why
way I
left
would have
it here.
like punted it.
Yeah. But so they start talking about her potentially going to the U.S. and taking William with her because it is not
They have to do what's
safe.
right for the baby.
Yeah. So an underlying plot here is Georgia used to make glass sculptures.
Yep.
And once she got married, Dominic
Shocker. She didn't do it anymore.
decided that she shouldn't do it anymore. But she ended up purchasing this store in her hometown studio. But it's also a store.
That's true.
And she is having her grand opening of all of her work.
Finding herself again.
That she's
doing her creative outlet. Sorry, like, it's cool. It's hard. I can't do it. It's just, this was so uninteresting.
And it's her birthday.
Oh, yeah. Just
so,
top it all off.
Yeah. And Noah's big push her over the edge to I love you is he flew her mom out for the opening night.
I get it, but as I was listening to this, I'm like, that is a bad idea. I don't care how sweet you think you are. Like,
then also he flew out his sister and her husband to meet Georgia.
It's like, he flew his family out?
Yeah.
First class? Serious? Like, damn.
So that means a lot to her, and they're very touchy-feely during this, very much together, but still a fling. And then they go home, and he's like, I have your birthday present. And she's like, I told you not to buy me anything. And he's like, I didn't buy you anything.
Ugh.
And it ended up being Jameson's phonograph, which he found in the shed that he's staying in. I don't know.
Yeah, like
guest house.
I was picturing like, a little tiny house thing.
Yeah, but he found it like tucked away into a closet. And so he brought it out. Everything's fine with it. It's not broken. And so they end up playing the music that was played during the first date.
Again.
And I think at this point, he tells her that he's in love with her.
I'm sure.
And
if not, it'll be like 2 lines later.
Yeah.
So.
And then she doesn't say it right away, but then later she does. They're in love. And so then back to the 1940s, stuff's really kicking up. There's a lot of air raids that are happening. At this point, Constance is showing signs of being abused.
Black guys. And
yeah. Scarlet and William are having to hide in bunkers because of all the bombings. And it's just becoming very dangerous. So then one day after work, when Jameson lands, they're like, somebody's here to see you. He needs to see you right now. And it is his uncle, Vernon, who William's middle name is Vernon. So he was named after him. And he is also a pilot, but like an older guy.
Yeah, and he was one of those, like, he enlisted much later.
Yeah. And they end up making a plan for essentially to get Scarlet and William out and back to the U.S.
Which was cool.
Because he needs them.
The uncle was a really cool guy.
To safety. Present day, they wake up and Noah goes into the office and he says, what the fuck do you think you're doing? And then Georgia comes and Ava is sitting there and scanning the book.
What? The piece of shit mom is being a piece of shit? Oh my God.
And then Ava ends up like spilling the beans of Noah has finished both books.
She tries to, get out of being in trouble. So that the best part is the mom is sending the photos of this to the ex-husband.
Yeah.
Oh, because she's in cahoots with him. I was slightly surprised about that. If we're to be honest, I was a little bit shocked because, like, I thought if she knew how many times she's, been divorced, like, she wouldn't. But who? Duh. She's a shitty mom. Of course, she'd hurt her child.
Yeah.
And then she tries to make Noah look bad, which I get it. Noah was stupid for that, but she kind of makes it look like it's so much
like he's
worse
being very secretive. And,
she makes it
you
seem
haven't told
like
her.
He's gonna get something more out of it.
Yeah. So Georgia is very mad that Noah's finished the book.
Get out.
I don't really get this. Like, I get he wasn't entirely truthful with you.
But why are you so fucking upset?
There's no malice behind it.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like he's submitting his copy and then, like,
He's not getting money out of this.
There's nothing I felt like it was a very big over exaggeration from her, but her whole thing is like, again, I can't trust anyone. So she's very mad. She tells him to get out, and then that's when he goes, the real love story here is you and me in this office. And
we were like, the audacity of you.
Yeah. So then Scarlett and William are getting ready to leave, and so she has to pack all her bags, and
the record.
Hey, this is where stuff starts getting real bad. So we're just going to make it through this together.
Just don't look at each other.
So Jameson tells her you need
we're gonna finish the episode like this.
You need to take the phonograph for my mom, because I told her I would bring it home safely. Yeah. And she's like, well, I'm not taking it because you told her you would bring it back when you made it home safe, because you are going to make it home safe. And so it's this whole moment of like, you're not dying, so don't ask me to take it with me. Yep. Like, that's not fair. And that day, William's plane goes down.
Jameson.
Not William. Jameson's plane goes down. Thank you.
Yes. He got involved in they got surprised.
Shootout.
Yeah, they got surprised by a bunch of German fighters, and then they all started fighting. And I was picturing the Top Gun shit. Well, they're like all over the place.
His tank got hit.
His fuel tank.
And
the window. Now, he was not hit, but yeah. So then he goes down, and nobody can find him.
Yeah. So he has like a picture of Scarlet,
and it flew out the window.
And it flew out, and he says it's like his guardian angel, and there it goes. So like now he's no longer safe.
And that's when I started to cry. I'm like, I knew it.
I cried a little bit. And then his friend is also there, and Howard. He's like, are you okay? Are you okay? And he's like, tell Scarlet I love her. And then he gets lost beneath the clouds. And so they go and they tell her. His whole flight crew,
all 11 of them,
went and to tell her. And
can you imagine having like 11 close comrades like that?
No. Yeah.
On another note. Anyway.
Again, I don't have enough social battery for that, so
that would be
in all fairness,
exhausting.
Yeah. But they end up telling her, and she's like, and this is just the way that she's dealing with it is, well, he's just missing in action. You need to go and find him. Like,
prove it.
Very much like hardcore, find him. Like, do not come back here until you find him. And then Constance is there, and she obviously ends up breaking down in front of Constance.
Like, how sweet that those sisters are so there for each other. We can't relate, but, I mean, we're sisters for each other.
We're sisters.
Yeah.
But so it's all very traumatic. And I think for me, like the way that she dealt with it is very much how I think I would handle that situation.
I agree. No, I think that you are a lot like Scarlet, in all honesty. Like, personality, toughness. A bad bitch. No, it's true. And just the way that you would have been like, we'll get upset about this later. This is horrible, but right now I'm focusing on they're going to find him.
Yeah, they have to find him. Like, he's just missing. It's fine. Mm-hmm. Like, she's obviously like, her heart sinks as soon as that door.
She saw them all. Yes. She counted them, and there was only 11.
Yeah. So then the next day is her day. She's supposed to leave, and she's
and now her husband's like MIA, missing in action.
And she's like, I'm not leaving. Are you out of your mind? Like, he just went down yesterday. Like, they're gonna find him. It's okay. Like, he just went down. But she's like, it's her way of coping. Like, she knows in her heart of hearts that he is gone. But then she also kind of like talks to Constance about like losing your person. And she's like, I would feel it if he was gone.
Yeah,
like, I would
that
know.
Was sad.
And Constance like, I didn't know. And it was over a week. Like,
honey.
She's very delicate.
I'm going to hold your hand when I say this.
But she's like, you need to pack. And you need to still go. And they will tell you.
When they find him.
When they find him. And Scarlett says, thank you for saying when and not if. And it's like, it's so sad.
It is.
And so then they
Leaving
pack the bags. They have baby William. And they're...
You're doing so good. You can do this.
and they go.
Oh, no. Okay, so they're on their way. Now, the part that I got confused about, because I was audio and ADHD and driving, were they going to go by plane or by ship? Was this back when you had to get everywhere by ship? They were going to fly.
They were going to go by plane because Uncle Vernon flew the plane, but the ship would take months, and they felt like it was more, they were going to be more exposed if they took the ship.
They were driving to the airport, and the sirens started going off, the air raid sirens, and they realized they needed to make it to a shelter because they left the house where there was a shelter, and now it's like, you know, we're on our way to Target, we're in the curves, and there is sirens going off. So they jump out of the car and literally start running with the baby in their arms, trying to make it, and they get hit. Not directly hit, so not that bad, but pretty bad. And they both go flying in different directions. Both sisters are separated. The baby is unharmed. That's important.
And she's like holding him.
Yeah, she like goes down like with him, and she wakes up. Scarlet comes to and is on all adrenaline, realizes, you know, where's my baby? Realizes he's okay. She goes to find her sister. She thinks her sister's gone. They unbury Constance. Constance wakes up, which I was all like, she lost her husband and now her sister. She wakes up.
We have to take a pause. Sorry,
perfect
because
timing.
stuff happens.
That was perfect. Yep.
So at first she thinks Constance dead, and then so back in present day, Georgia's ex-husband shows up and tries to convince her to give him the movie rights.
Yes. And isn't this when Noah like kind of starts getting sassy with him, with Damien?
Noah, yeah. Well, at this point, Noah left. He left the country for like 6 weeks. So he ends up leaving just entirely. I just wanted to I want to stop you before we say what happened. And the ex-husband is like, we can get back together. We can be so great.
God. Oh, it was their anniversary. That's what it was. He showed up with flowers. Like, audacious.
Yeah. And she's not having any of it. And so she's like, you forget that the deal was only if I was a part of the production company. You think my gran is that stupid to let you have the rights? You're out of your mind.
She never liked you.
Yeah, she didn't like you. And so then the preliminary publishing kind of the book, because Scarlet decides to go with the real version of what happened, gets put out, and the reviews are horrible. Everyone, totally what Noah thought was going to happen, that it was the worst. Like, how could you tarnish Scarlett's reputation like this?
It's a true story, you fucking idiots.
Yeah, but like, hey, he knew what it was going to be. He put it out anyway because he knew this is what she wanted, and he's going to do what she wants, even if it ruins his career. Because he loves her. And then she ends up calling Adam and is like, we got to do something about this.
Oh, okay. So
then we have, I think it was a package.
Yeah, she gets a package from her gran.
And it has a letter. It has 3 letters in it.
Has some stuff.
So we get the real story of what happened.
Yes. So that's when, so like we're back in today, and she just, think of the day that she had too, after dealing with that, and then kind of the feelings with Noah, and now she gets this letter on her what would be 7th anniversary of this guy, and it's letters from her gran talking about like, just in case you guys aren't together anymore, like, I'm hoping you have seen the light, is kind of what the letter is saying. Like, this is my, like, this is the true story. This, and it was like,
so Constance,
you're not ready. You think you're ready. You're not.
So Constance is not dead. She wakes up.
Surprise, surprise.
Yeah, if I start crying, you'll take over here.
Ready.
She wakes up, and Scarlet is like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad you're okay, yada, yada, yada. And Constance looks at her sister, and she's like impaled, is the way I saw it.
Like, girl, you ain't good.
She's bleeding profusely, and she's like holding William, and she like starts to lose it. And so Constance takes William from her, and she like falls.
And they're both having that like, don't talk about it. You're okay. You're okay. You're okay.
Yeah. And she's like, you promised you would take care of William with your life, because she's the godmother of the child. And she's like, you need to uphold that promise. You need to get him out of here. You need to get him to the U.S., get him out of this war zone. Like, Jameson, I love you. William, I love you. Like, and
that's so sad.
There's like this whole thing of like her and Jameson weren't actually separated for that long because she ends up dying essentially like 12 hours after he does.
Yep.
In theory.
Yep. Allegedly.
And it's really horrible and sad. This like sob.
This was more sad than her losing Jameson, to be honest. Just because of like, get to that part, read it, you'll understand. Like, we're just giving you the cliff notes.
This part was when I was like sending you the videos of like, I don't want to finish this. I do not want to finish this
And
anymore.
then you told me too, her next step was like, it's not what you think it is. And I'm like, I already know what it is. And then the next day I'm like, it's
gonna
not what I thought it was.
Because you think the sad part is Jameson's going to die.
Yep.
Because you know early on in the book that Scarlet ends up remarrying a different Grandpa Brian or whatever. So Constance is like, well, I got to take care of William. So he gets him into the car, drives to the airfield.
She grabs her bag. Now remember, they had just been involved in all this stuff, so she grabs what she thinks is her stuff.
Yeah. And they get to the airfield, and Vernon has never met Scarlet, but it's very well known that
sees the baby.
Constance and Scarlet look very similar. Mm-hmm. And so she is kind of like, but she's all bandaged and stuff, like she's taken some damage from the bombing. And he's like, oh, it's so great to meet you. And he thinks that she is Scarlet.
And Constance is like, oh my God, everyone thinks I'm my sister.
Yeah, and then she's like, well, if this is what I have to do to get him to safety, then this is what I have to do.
And she also has a light bulb moment when she realizes that her bag went with her unalived sister. And so now her piece of shit wife-beaten husband thinks she's dead.
Yep.
You get the best of both worlds in this moment.
She gets to the U.S. She decides she is going to be Scarlet now to take care of William, because what's going to happen to him if she doesn't? Mm-hmm. Like, if she's not allowed...
Then strangers were going to raise him.
Yeah, and she's like, that cannot happen. I love him. I'm going to take care of him. I told Scarlett and Jameson I would take care of him, and I'm going to do it, damn it. So she gets all new ID, all new photos. So she is Scarlett Stanton by all U.S. standards. Her piece of shit husband thinks that she is dead because she was put into the casualty reports. She does not put Jameson as deceased for years and years and years, until William and his wife end up actually getting into a car accident. So they end up passing away, and Ava did not. I think they were on their way to pick her up or something.
From dance
that's
class.
why she thinks that her grandmother resented her so much, because...
And little does she know kind of, how much that grandmother went through to get that child here.
Yeah. And so after he ends up passing away, she ends up putting Jameson as deceased finally, and ends up marrying Grandpa Brian, who was just some guy that rented the cottage from her, and they were in love, and he asked her to marry him like 1,000 times, and she said no, until she finally decided that she could let herself be happy.
The other detail, she found out that the rich husband that she was forced to marry, she found out he died. And then she was like,
oh, yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
I'm free.
Because she's like, by all legal standards.
Yep.
In my brain, I'm still married. That's
Correct.
What it was.
Yep.
That was the catalyst. So they end up getting remarried, and she finally lets herself be in love again.
Which is so sweet to like channel that lie, live that lie so thoroughly.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then, so that she dies as Scarlet, even though she is Constance.
Which was just a mind blown. I wasn't ready.
I think she signs it as Constance Stanton, the letter.
At the very end.
And imagine living your life like that. Mm-hmm. I can't. Like, never being called your name. Again.
And to, like, fight the urge. Like,
yeah.
Wow.
Crazy. But so then, present day, everything's for love.
Hunky-dory.
Georgia ends up changing the book when it's actually released into the happy ending one, and Noah doesn't realize till he's back in the U.S., and the reviews are so good, and everybody calls it like the trick of the century or whatever to like release the bad one, but then actually it's a different story, and it's like, what? And where Noah has been is he hired a private expedition group, essentially, to find Jameson's remains.
All right, we kind of warmed up to Noah here at the end already. He was like, he was all
very
right.
Very sweet. And he at this point, he had put it together that Scarlet was Constance.
Because he had been noted, like, making comments about how the writing style was different.
Yep.
And ta-da, that's
and
why.
Scarlet talked about, like the real Scarlet, had talked about she's really good at starting stories, but she's not very good at finishing them. So in my brain, all these stories that have been written have been ones that she had started and then Constance ended up finishing. Because she talked about, I think the endings should be happy and great and lovely and yada, yada, yada. So he ends up finding the plane, but there are no remains, but he does end up finding Jameson's wedding ring. So that's kind of confirmation.
Made me cry too, like, oh.
Yeah, and he had landed in the ocean, so there was 0 chance of survival of that.
That's so sad.
So he gives her that closure, and then they're in love. She forgives him.
Happily ever after.
Epilogue here. She's pregnant. The book's great. I think he has like his new release or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. They're happy. She lied about being infertile. She had an IUD and then paid off the doctor to say that she was infertile. So good old ex-husband. She just didn't want to have a baby with him.
I mean, yeah.
Which I felt like that was a little cheap. I don't know. I'm like,
I don't think I would have lied about being infertile. That's a little harsh.
But hey.
But I myself did get an IUD to make sure I didn't have child with people in the past, so I get it. Gotta protect yourself, girl.
I'm just throwing that out there. Jeez.
You're welcome, listeners.
Yeah. But anywho, that is the things we leave unfinished.
This is the roller coaster of devastation. If you want to have yourself a nice, wholesome cry right before the holidays when your family makes you cry, yeah, this will be.
The scene where Scarlet dies, I
was
can't
not
get over
okay.
it.
That was more upsetting than any and all like sad love stories.
I think
there's just something about it.
The hardest part about it for me as a parent is like she was finally getting William out. Like, and it did end up happening, which is great and stuff like that. But like Jameson died trying to get them out, and then Scarlet also died trying to get him out. Like she was doing what Jameson would have wanted, and then she died in the process. Are you fucking kidding me?
Yep.
Like,
so upsetting.
I hated. I didn't want to finish it. I loved the book, and that's the whole point of it. But emotional damage.
Very much so.
Anywho, fan cast.
Fancast is if we were going to make this a movie or a TV show, who would we choose to be the characters?
Okay. Should we go one for one?
Yeah.
Okay. So, let's do Scarlet and Constance at the same time.
Okay.
Okay. You go first.
Let me go to my note.
Let me get my Google out.
Scarlet, Jessica, I don't know how to say her last name, Lowndes from 90210.
Londays?
Right? I don't know.
Okay.
I didn't want to be disrespectful. So I just did what.
Oh.
I'm like, my Constance was Allison Brie.
Oh, okay.
From like Mad Men and How to Be Single.
So my Scarlet was Emilia Clarke.
Yes! Okay, but you know how much I've been on Game of Thrones, and I don't want you to be like, can you pick something that you're not watching? Like, I'm sorry. She's not hard on me, but I was going to think that you were going to be like, oh, come on.
All right.
Now I'm glad I didn't, because we would have picked the same people.
Hey.
That's an excellent.
I was a Dany girl to the extreme when I watched Game of Thrones.
Oh, really?
Like,
okay.
After that final episode, okay, backstory. Monday mornings in the office, after Game of Thrones, every Monday morning, we would all come out and stand in a circle and talk about the episode. Okay. If you did not watch the episode, you had to go to your office This wasn't for you. You don't want it spoiled? Go away.
Okay.
The day after the finale, I came in there so pissed off. Didn't want to talk to anybody. I was so mad. And I think they destroyed her character. And it was so...
Yeah. Well, even the whole, like, last season. So I read the books, but I haven't watched every episode yet. And I was very... So, like, I know what happens. Okay. But, like, don't worry. Yeah. And I'm not, like... Anyway, the point is, I'm frustrated with how her character was portrayed as such a selfish, like, dumbass. Because she really was more than that.
But she wasn't in the earlier seasons. They literally took her in the last season and went, bad guy.
Yeah, like, let's just fuck
Stupid.
You over.
Anyway, so Amelia Clark was my Scarlet. And for Constance, I did Lily Collins.
Pretty.
She's going to have contacts.
That's okay.
But they could be sisters.
100%. 100%. Yeah. I believe it.
Georgia. Who did you do?
Adriana Lima.
Who's that?
The famous Victoria's Secret model.
Oh, okay.
This one. Because she has ridiculously blue eyes.
Yeah, she's beautiful.
Oh, God.
I did Alexandra Daddario. Specifically kind of this look, like with the red lips.
Yes.
Yeah. I also feel like she could give away that like ice queen look. Mm-hmm. But then also like you see her and stuff and like her smile is fantastic.
Very warm,
and she's very
sweet.
warm. Yeah. So I felt like that would be good. Jameson. Mine's a little niche. Very specific.
Mine's just weird. And then, honestly, on the drive over,
you were rethinking
it's just not great. Yeah.
Okay.
Don't love my choice, but I'm here now. So Scott Deckert from he played in Venom. I watched that movie, but I didn't.
How do you spell his last name?
I'll just show you a picture.
E-R-T?
Of him. Yeah. Deckert.
It's fine. It's fine.
Not great.
Yeah.
Not horrible. Not great.
It's fine.
Yeah. Moving on. You'll laugh at my Noah. You're going to laugh.
Mine is Chris Evans in Captain America, the First Avenger. Specifically his military scenes.
You were going to
Hey, Chris Evans. I'm a Chris Evans girly. For sure. But like this picture, this is off Pinterest. But this picture.
Yeah.
Could. Like.
Yeah.
And he's so like
I'm acting like I wouldn't swoon if this man came up to me myself. So, yeah, I talk a big game over here, but...
Okay, who's your Noah? Who's your Noah?
Jake Gyllenhaal, because we needed somebody kind of douchey.
For Noah?
Yeah. Dye the hair, add the tattoos.
Okay, I definitely gave him
Pompous,
more credit
egotistical,
than
you
did.
Yeah.
I did Justin Baldoni.
Who?
Baldoni. From It Ends With Us.
Oh.
Also from Jane the Virgin.
Okay.
But like specifically his Jane the Virgin look, like that's Noah for me.
Okay.
But he also has a very like sweet, sensitive side to him.
Which that actor does a good job of.
Which I think Noah would be good with.
Okay.
Did you cast anyone else?
Nope.
Okay, I did Gran.
Okay.
And I did Ellen Burstyn.
Yeah.
Old lady, blue eyes.
Yep.
Wasn't married to that, but anywho. That was my fan cast. Final thoughts.
Excellent.
It was really good.
This was my first, like, make you cry book, too, so.
We've been looking for it, though. Yeah. Like, I feel like almost every month we go, we need a good cry.
Yeah, and so finally we were like,
there we go.
Yep.
Rebecca Yarros said, here.
Yeah. I would recommend it to anyone that likes, like, emotional love stories and stuff. And, like, I just really liked it.
I did, too. Turns out I like wartime books.
I won't ever read it again, but I liked it.
No. I'm not a big rereader of books.
I've met more and more people that do, and I'm like...
Yeah. I know the story. Mm-hmm. I'm good. I don't know.
And then people come for me like, yeah, but you used to rewatch the movies all the time. I'm like, so does every fucking toddler, like, on this planet.
Yeah. Not so much as an adult.
Yeah.
That's a lie. It's about Little Women time, and I'll be watching that probably religiously, so.
Okay.
I love Little Women.
That's funny.
So good.
Laser tag and Little Women.
Yeah. Okay. This is a great one.
Nah, get it, girl.
My final thoughts. Turns out I like wartime books. Would have never thought that.
I'll bring you all my grandpa's World War II books now that we know you're so into history.
I'm horrible at history. This doesn't make any sense. But I think it's just the intensity of it. Like the bombing and the, did they make it out? that kind of things, I think, just get me antsy. And then I end up really enjoying the book. But it was good. Rebecca Yarros is good at making you cry, I'll say that. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. Anywho, I think that's it for my final thoughts. Yeah. I'd recommend it. I'd say it's appropriately hyped.
Correct.
Yeah. I thought it was really good. So, anywho.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like,
done.
Subscribe,
share,
follow, please.
All the things. Comment.
Yeah. Even if you're going to roast me, come on. Just something.
I always feel like, because I watch a lot of podcasts on YouTube, helps the algorithm, guys.
For real, though.
Alrighty. Bye.
Bye. Written and performed by Susie and Kylie.
Produced and edited by Connor Luther, and filmed and recorded at the SDF Collective.